I want to talk about the weight of living with ADHD and the effects it can have over time when it isn't recognized, treated, or acknowledged. The more of your stories I hear, the more I realize how many of us are living with this. For many years, I've felt blocked by an invisible yet insurmountable barrier that stands between me and who I believe I'm meant to be, who I should be, who I want to be. The other side is crystal clear, and what lies there is success, consistency, the ability to just do the things I want to do, but I am unable to scale it. Like a window, sometimes I draw a shade across it, like a heavy drapery, so I don't have to look at the other side. Because looking at the life I could be living and the person I should be hurts too much. For years, I thought this feeling was depression. And I want to be clear. Depression is real, and it is heavy. I have lived with that too. But what I am describing now, this is something different. And giving it a name has changed something inside me that has been there for many, many years. Self-doubt. Welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about the damage caused by ADHD-related demoralization. I want to start by explaining why this feels so heavy and why it is so often misunderstood by people who don't have our brains. If you try to explain this to a neurotypical person, someone whose brain works in a linear way, they might look at your life and say, well, everyone gets overwhelmed, but we are speaking different languages. To a neurotypical brain, a setback, a missed deadline, a messy house, a forgotten email might feel like stepping in a puddle of water. It's annoying. You get your shoes a little wet, but you dry off and you move on. To me, when I fail at a task or when I hit that wall, it feels like I've fallen into the deep end of a swimming pool and I don't know how to swim. It is crushing. It is debilitating. It takes copious amounts of energy just to be able to breathe again. So why? Why is the reaction so extreme? It's not because we are weak. It's not because we are dramatic. It is because of a fundamental mismatch between how we are built and how the world expects us to function. I've come to realize that the ADHD brain is like a supercomputer when it comes to processing. We see everything. We feel everything. We make connections instantly. But we don't have a hard drive that retains information the way the world demands. We have these high-speed minds living in a mechanical linear world. And that mismatch creates the damage. I want to tell you how this damage happened to me, because it isn't one big event. It's 1,000 small cuts over a lifetime. I have a file cabinet in my brain. It's labeled, "Stupid Things I've Done and Should Never Do Again." Inside, I've cataloged every single mistake. Let's go back to the beginning of that file. At 5, I was one of only a handful of students asked to start reading during recess. Pre-kindergarten programs didn't exist then, so reading was never a part of the curriculum. I was thrilled. I embraced reading everything I could get my hands on. Fast forward to first grade. My teacher told my mom that I was unable to focus and learn new things and would most likely need remedial classes. Later, teachers only had positive things to say about my intelligence, but it didn't stop me from realizing very quickly that I needed to hide any challenges I couldn't control when it came to how I learned. That fear of appearing unintelligent became a talisman I carried for decades. It's why I over-prepare, why I need to be in control, and why I avoid situations where I don't fully understand the possible outcomes. I cannot be in a position where someone might see proof that I am defective. As we get older, the stakes get higher and the damage goes deeper. In college, I joined the school newspaper. I was excited. I'd been the editor in high school. Writing was my thing. First semester, freshman year, I wrote my first story. It was published, and then the editor called me. I had made an error. One error. Through a neurotypical lens, the response would be, "Oops, I messed up. I'll write a correction and do better next time." That is not what happened to me. The shame was physical. It washed over me. My brain didn't see a mistake. It saw confirmation. See, you're careless. You're untalented. You tricked them into thinking you were smart, and now you've been exposed. The effort people with ADHD put into so-called normal things would shock neurotypicals. The standards we hold ourselves to are incredibly high, and when even that isn't enough, it feels like a piece of us gets chipped away and left behind wherever we failed. So I quit the newspaper. I walked away from something I loved because I couldn't face the possibility of feeling that pain again. That is damage at work. It makes your world smaller. It makes you retreat. And then there is the damage of the everyday. Sometimes it isn't big failures. Sometimes it's the exhaustion of trying to function. Last year, we had to move a loved one into assisted living. Belongings from 3 generations were stored in our garage. At first, it was manageable, new, even motivating. But over time, the clutter seemed to expand. That one area of overwhelm spread. Tasks that had once felt simple became massive. Within 6 months, I was struggling to open Christmas cards that arrived in the mail. They were right there. People who loved me, sending me well wishes. And I couldn't touch them. Knowing the world kept moving for everyone else, while mine didn't, felt unbearable. Because I can't do these simple things the way everyone else seems to, I judge myself. I berate myself. I spent years, literal years of my life in my bedroom. It was the safest place, the only place where I couldn't be seen or fail. This is what ADHD-related demoralization looks like. It's like a silent alarm goes off, and my brain's self-destruct sequence is triggered. It reminds me of people being hypnotized, how they suddenly lose all muscle control and slump over. That's what happens to me. I just slump. It isn't a choice. It's a protective shutdown. It's the psychological consequence of a capable brain being repeatedly punished for traits it cannot willpower its way out of. If you're listening to this and you're in a slump, if you're staring at the wall, feeling the shame of the stupid file in your head, I want you to know this. You are not broken. You are slightly damaged. You've been trying to force a very round life into a very square hole, and it isn't working. Next time, we're going to talk about the cost of that damage, the masking, the broken relationships, and the grief of the lost years. Until then, give yourself grace. You've been listening to Demoralized with Molly Kellogg-Schmauch.